And then a deep exhale all the way out. And just keeping the eyes closed. Just start to settle in to this space even more. So settling into this space within your body. Settling into this space within the room. And really just allowing yourself to be present. Letting go of any expectations. And just taking this time for you. You took the time to arrive here for a ladies' night, to enjoy yourself, to learn. So as you continue to take full breaths in and deep exhales out, just remember your intention of why you came. Maybe there was a certain topic that you wanted to hear, or maybe you just knew that there was going to be something, some piece of information that you were going to receive this evening that was going to help you. Something brought you here. It wasn't an accident. It was that intuition, that deep knowing within. One more full breath. Good, and then gently blinking open the eyes. Yes, and then just shaking it all out, really settling in. So, what I want to talk to you about today is about Yoni Health. So, Dina already broke the ice and asked you guys, what is a yoni? So you already know that it's a vagina. So usually that's the cringy part to where people are like, ooh, vagina, or they just don't want to talk about it, or everybody turns a little red or gets a little tight. So that's out of the way, so we don't even have to worry about that. But before we really get into Yoni Health and Yoni healing and what that even entails for us, we want to really focus on self-care. So when we think about self-care, we typically think of okay, we're going to take a bubble bath, we're going to get our nails done, we're going to do our hair. Those are just some of the few. When you think about self-care, what are some of the things that come to mind? Those things that I mentioned? Yeah. Anybody have anything else that comes up? Exercise, self-care.
Meditation.
Eating healthy, definitely. Yeah. That's a good self-care. So what happens when you don't do any of those things? You get stressed. Yeah. You're down. You're you're not taking the time for yourself. Everybody around you is maybe suffering a little bit because they're like, she's just not who she is. Right? She's shaking her head yeah. And so the thing is that with our self-care, it has to be not only a practice that we do to take care of ourselves, but it has to become a part of our daily routine. It has to be a ritual. It has to be something that we do often. And with that, with each month, the woman's body, our body flows, right? So our body goes through it goes through a cycle. So just as if the moon cycles, right? There's times where we have a full moon, or the moon, you maybe see a new moon, or you don't see a moon at all, right? So the moon is constantly changing. Well, our bodies also transition and change as well. And the thing is that we have been so programmed because some of us work 9 to 5 jobs, or we go to school, or we just have this specific structure that we're expected to function at this best every single day. And if when you're on your cycle, you are not feeling that same type of energy. You can be feeling brain fog, you can feel tired, you can feel like you're in pain, you're having cramps, you're more hormonal, your estrogen levels and your progesterone has gone down, and so you're more irritable, you're not as happy and as cheery. But then what about when you're off your cycle? Right when you finish and you're like, brand new. And you're coming into the world, and we're like, I am ready to go, right? So we've all felt that different transition. Well, your body is starting to change. You're starting to go through a different phase. So the time that you are on your cycle, so I say on my moon, is the time that as a woman, we're actually the most intuitive. Back in the day, in the tribal times, the women used to all get together when it was during their cycle. And they would get together during their cycle and they would braid each other's hair and they would talk to each other and they would rub each other's backs. And it was just this time of like getting together and gathering. And so they would be away from the men and then they would receive all of these ideas and these downloads and all of these things would come to them, and they had this time to be able to be together. And you know, if you've worked with a woman or you've been best friends with a woman, there's very often that your cycles sync up. So imagine being in a tribe with a bunch of women and everybody's cycles are together, and then just having that time where you guys can all just, you know, be around each other, self-care, nurturing each other. So having that time, and then the women from this time, this intuition that they would receive, then they would take that into the tribe and give that to their partners or give it to the men that was in the tribe, and then they would be able to take that information, which was valuable information, and then they would be able to go out there and execute that. So we've gotten so far from that. We now, if you've heard, oh, she's on her period, watch out. Oh, she's, right? And sometimes it's true, like, you know, we get it, like, we sometimes don't even, sometimes we don't even want to be around ourselves during that time. But let me tell you, it doesn't have to be that way. Because if you can truly honor yourself and know your body throughout the entire month to know, there's times where you're more intuitive when you're on your cycle. There's times where you're more outgoing, the times that you're ovulating, the time that you're just ready to create, right? Because ovulation time is creation time physically. So it's also creation time in the world where you can be creating for your mission or for your project or, you know, creating something else. So as our body cycles in a month, we have to support that. So the self-care practice isn't just a practice of bubble baths and getting your nails done and doing your hair, but it's a practice of really being able to be in tune with yourself and really to nourish your body throughout the month. To know, okay, I'm about to be starting my cycle, I'm about to be on my moon, so I'm going to set myself up prior to it for success. So I'm going to make sure that I have nourishing foods for myself. I'm going to make sure that I do a Yoni steam before. Did you want to say something?
I was just going to say, I think that is my new code word for my moon.
Yes. So that is what I say.
Yeah. My daughter came up with code red a few years ago.
Oh,
She got
yeah.
But I love that.
Yep. And so that's just something that I say, and some people don't know what it is, and then we can get into that conversation, and it just goes from there. Yeah. So with knowing that, like, your information, the knowledge that you have as a woman is so valuable, and everything that you are going through is, if you are able to just truly tune into your body. The reason why we feel so irritable and so stressed and anxious during that time of our cycle is because we're still trying to function the way that we function when we're ovulating. Or we're trying to function in a way that doesn't necessarily align with where we're at that specific time. So I have created a few different products for women's health. One of them is Moontime Tea. Moontime Tea, what it does is it supports your body right before you're about to go on your cycle and also while you're on your cycle. So that's going to help with mood support, but it's also going to help with cramps. That's one of the teas that I've created. Now I also have a menopause tea. The menopause tea, what that helps to do is to detox the mucus out of the body. So a lot of the times, the reason why women experience hot flashes or fatigue is because there's a buildup of mucus within the body that needs to be eliminated. So we get mucus in the body daily just by the foods that we eat. So if you eat dairy, if meat, those are all ways of how you can create mucus in the body. So it's important to have a more alkaline body, as Dina was mentioning, rather than a more acidic body. Now those are two of the teas, but I also have created Yoni steam and Yoni oil. So I'm going to tell you first about the Yoni steam, and then I'll go into the oil because that's a little bit more fun for me. So the Yoni steam is herbs, and what you do with the herbs, so this has been around for centuries. This is nothing that I just like created and came up with. This has been around for centuries, and the women have always done Yoni steaming at least once to twice a month. So what Yoni steaming is you get a pot of boiling water, you add the herbs in, and then you take that pot and then you put it, I have stools that we've created, but you can, okay, cool, thank you. So these herbs, what they do, so basically the steam rises into your yoni. And so what this steam is going to do is going to help clear out. So it's going to be assisting for fibroids, it's going to be assisting for cysts. If you have any stagnant blood, thank you. So stagnant blood is typically what makes us have the cramps as hard as we do, because the body is working so hard to eliminate and to get rid of that old blood that was maybe there from the last cycle or just stuck in there that we need to just get out. So the steaming, and it actually feels really good. Like, I love to steam. I just feel so grounded and calm within my body when I'm steaming. And so what you do is you just take your pot and you just slide it right underneath the stool. Then you get on the stool and you grab a blanket or a large towel and you wrap it around yourself, and then the steam just rises. So during this time, I always say it's like no phone, unless you're just like listening to, meditative music, but no phone, and then have a journal. Because what happens is, if you think about the process of detoxing your gut, when you're detoxing your stomach, you're detoxing stuff, and then you typically have to go to the bathroom, right? Like, you're detoxing things that aren't serving you. Well, when you're detoxing your yoni, it's nothing like gunk comes out, like nothing comes out of you. But if you think about it, a lifetime of partners, sexual partners that you've had that have maybe, that don't resonate with you anymore, energy gets stuck into the body. So we want to be able to fully clear and release. And they're over there high fiving. They don't want to get out. She's like, get him out, girl, get him out. We don't want him in there anymore.
Fun section.
Yeah.
That's on a count.
So that is the process of yoni steaming. And so that's something that I do minimum once a month. You can do it more than once a month, but I say it is just a requirement for yourself. Once a month, tune in after your cycle, do a yoni steam, maybe before. If you don't have a stool, it's a little bit of work, because you're either going to squat and hold for a minimum of 10 minutes, which is kind of a long
which
time.
is what you make us do. That's what you make me
Jeannie's
do.
probably gonna squat, yeah. Jeannie's gonna do it without the stool. Or you can do the child's pose over it. So knees wide and then just hover like this. But then you also have to be very mindful, because it is a hot pot.
Yeah.
So you don't want to burn yourself. That's not, we don't want that. Now the yoni oil, what the yoni oil is organic coconut oil, fair trade, and then I infused it with flowers and herbs that are all in the yoni steam. So the yoni oil, you apply topically and you apply it daily. So you apply it right when you get off the shower. So you just all on your yoni. Now what this is going to help do, it's going to help with tightening. It's going to help with moisturizing, lubricating your yoni. It's also going to help with any type of yeast infections, any cysts, fibroids, pH balance, PCOS, you name it. The yoni oil to me is like the cheat code from the yoni steam, because you're getting all of the herbs. You don't have to do as much of the work, but I do recommend both of them. But the yoni oil, so I'll tell you a fun story. The yoni oil is liquid gold. Everybody loves the yoni oil. It is one of my top sellers. I have a very hard time keeping it on the shelf because it goes very fast. Well, what happened was, when I created it, there were so many women that were getting it. And then a lot of women were using it during playtime. So, because it is a great natural lubricant. Verified. So, with the Yoni oil, I then created the goddess oil specifically for playtime because that one is more concentrate than the actual Yoni oil. So the Yoni oil is just something that you apply topically every day. To me, that's more like self-care. That's for me. Now the goddess oil, that can be for us.
That's out of the group.
High five. Yes, so that is all about the Yoni Health and some of the products that I have for this. Now, if this is something that you haven't heard of, or if it's like all new, you're like, wow, that's kind of a lot to take in, and I didn't really know all of that was there. But let me tell you that there have been so many women that's lives have been changed from doing the Yoni steaming and from doing the Yoni oil, because there's lots of transitions that our body takes, and there's different stages of our lives, and sometimes we need a little bit more support. And if you think about it, if you've had kids, or if you've just experienced certain things in your life to where you haven't necessarily cared for your yoni, and the only things that we've cared for are the exterior, when you start really caring for your yoni on a deeper level, you really feel way more connected with yourself on a way that I can't tell you. It's just something that you have to experience for yourself. You won't look at your cycles the same. You won't look at intercourse the same. You won't look at self-care the same, and your connection with yourself goes from, let's say, a 5 to an 8 to a 10. So, thank you so much. Appreciate it, ladies.
Thank you, Joy. Awesome. Such good information.